With the recent development in Nigeria that is occasioned by security unrest, from the abduction of KB school girls, talking about students and pupils of government girls comprehensive school KB, to the attack on worshippers at Christ Apostolic Church in Aruke, Kwara State, and also the abduction of pupils from St. Mary's Catholic Church, Papiri in Niger State. And a combination of it all is the murder of a serving general of the Nigerian army, when he was ambushed with his troop along Maiduguri Damboa Road. Now, with all these developments in Nigeria, how has the image of the country been to international community, attracting the conversation on a global space where the President of the United States, Donald Trump, says Nigeria is indeed a country of particular concern? Hello dear, thank you for joining us on Political Affairs on Karma TV. My name is Chris Jacobs, and of course, I'll take a breather. You'll get to meet my guests after this time out. Join us again. Alright, glad to know you're there. We've just joined us. You're watching Political Affairs on Karma TV. And for those of you following the conversation on our Facebook page, I've been joined by Titus Innocent Isinga. He's a public affairs commentator, and he joins us on the conversation. And for those of you on Facebook page, of course, I would like you to send your suggestions, comments to the talking point at the comment section there. Thank you for joining the conversation. Titus, it's a pleasure to have you on Political Affairs.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's right. Now, I'd like to begin by asking you, with the recent development in Nigeria that is occasioned by the recent abductions and as well the proscribing of Nigeria by United States of America's President Donald J. Trump, how has that fashioned the narrative, in Nigeria to the global community?
Yeah, first of all, when that statement was made by the President of the United States, Donald Trump, a lot of people raised concerns, even though some quarters are saying, no, there's nothing like genocide in Nigeria, but the statement said Nigeria is his country of concern. And let us understand the fact that if, for instance, the United States is coming into this country, they are not only coming to fight a particular sect. They are coming to assist Nigeria as a nation to fight banditry and terrorism. And it may interest you to know that the United States is being given the power by the UN to go to any country that is faced with such a challenge. So when that was, when President Trump made that pronouncement, I think a lot of people that don't understand the intrigues begin to gush out statements that are not proper. But to be honest, without any waste of time, we've seen in just few space of time a lot of things happen. Just at the opening, you make mention of so many things that happen, from the killing of the army general down to the kidnapping of the students in KB State. Again, worshippers in Kwara State. We also have the recent one, the students of St. Mary's Academy in Kontagora, I think in Niger State.
Papiri.
Yeah. Then at the same time, it may interest you to know that just recently a venerable of the Anglican Church was also adopted with his wife. But this morning I saw the news that the man is dead. So with all these things that are happening, it should also raise our consciousness that something is wrong somewhere. We've seen situations whereby, even though we've heard that some of these students are rescued, they have come back to reunite with their families. But again, what are the politics that went behind closed doors? These are some of the things that we need to look at. So, the issue of calling Nigeria a country of concern, I think to me as a person, there's nothing wrong with that. And that is why the National Security Advisor traveled out to negotiate and to see how they can be into talking terms with the United States to see how they can come in.
All right. In terms of international politics and comparative studies, there is no nation that is too big to seek for help.
Of course.
Even the almighty America, have
allies. At the point in time, they have their, even presently they have their allies.
Yes,
they have people right. that they if in times of difficulties, they call these people so that they can assist them to fight a particular problem.
But why are some persons in Nigeria becoming a little bit skeptical as to whether or not the presence of the United States of America is or should be a welcome idea, while some seem to not be in support of the deployment of troops from the United States of America to aid Nigeria to ending these shenanigans by the terrorists?
Yeah, I think basically it comes from two ways. Some are just sentimental, being religious bias. Okay. Let us be very, very honest. People begin to bring the sentiments of their religion into it. And by the time we begin to allow sentiments to take away the national interest, we are not going to progress. Rather, we should look at ways in which the Nigerian army can join forces with the American army to flush out these terrorists. Those bandits. You and I heard someone posted on his Facebook page that going to the village may not be funny this year because at every point you discover that there's kidnapping, people are being carried away. So now we that are in the cities, in the urban areas, we are not even safe. So now we should remove that sentiment from our hearts. Let us come together and see the good of a nation, the good of our country. We don't have any other country than Nigeria.
That's right.
So the only thing we can do is to sit back, unite, and make sure we fight the common enemy. I always say that the problem with Nigerians is that we don't know the definition of who is an enemy. We don't know. We should know who is our enemy, who are we fighting.
As in when it comes to understanding the common
enemy. So we don't have that understanding. So when somebody is telling you that I'm coming to help you fight a thief in your house, and you are telling the person that no, I don't want you to come.
But let me ask you these Titus. With the recent happenings, that some say it is occasioned by the pronouncement of Donald Trump. Because not quite long after Donald Trump made a pronouncement that Nigeria is a country of particular concern, therefore, Americans will intervene in the security issue of Nigeria. Boom! We began to see some of these attacks here and there. So, how do is there a connection between the pronouncement of President Trump to the recent abductions and attacks we see by these non-state actors?
No, there's no connection because you agree with me that before now we've seen so many attacks in Plateau State, in Benue State, and in some states within the country. So all these attacks, are you telling me that all these attacks we've been carried out even before the pronouncement? And not only in these states I made mention, we've seen attacks in Sokoto, in Zamfara, in Kebbi, and some of these are northwestern states. So all these things were being carried out. So it's not after the pronouncement, but because it is after the pronouncement, people now begin to look at it. People begin to, it's just like something is passing always and you never maybe take care of it, or you never show concern on it. So but by the time someone draw your attention to that, each time that thing is passing by, you always notice it. So these are things that have been happening in this country. We've seen it. That's not the first time. It happens in Sokoto. It happens in Zamfara. It happens in Kebbi.
But look at the narratives and how has that kind of fashioned or built up the trust or obstructed rather the trust factor between Nigerian government and its citizens. You know, the series of abduction. Nigeria has been the series of abduction has been alien to Nigeria. Not until the Chibok issue.
The Chibok issue.
Then the Chi
girls, the Japanese students, and so on and so forth.
But the narrative has always been okay, mass abduction, and the government has secured the release of the pupils. The government never mentioned whether or not ransom was paid, and the government never mentioned, as a matter of fact, whether they were actually rescued in terms of means of combat with
the bandits.
With the bandit. And there has also been this conversation, you know, do not negotiate with terrorists, do not pay ransom, you know, to some cultures. So with all that we've seen in recent times, how has that affected the trust, you know, and the trust factor between the citizens and the government in its entirety?
Yes, of course. One of the Nigerian Constitution will tell you that the primary responsibility of government is to protect lives and properties
Absolutely.
of the citizens. So now, if the lives and properties are not protected, do you think there will be trust? There will be no trust. Now, how many states have closed schools because of the issue of attacks on schools? Just recently, the president made a pronouncement that all VIPs, police will not be attached to VIPs.
But this is not the first time.
This is not the first time we've heard that times with that number.
Yes.
And now that they ask the officers and men of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps to take over, they say they are not professionals enough to take care of them. So, but I think that is one of the main responsibility of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. But it's just because there's no proper definition.
That's right.
Of who is to go with these VIPs, who is to guide our schools, and who again is to join into civil issues. Now it may interest you to know, please, that in government-owned institutions like the government house, their private house, that's public office holders, like say political office holders, their private houses, if they're moving on convoy, you see a lot of security personnel. But in our schools today, you hardly see a security man.
But
what are we doing?
But what happens to the Safe School initiative?
This thing,
a huge amount of
money have been pumped into that. It was just recently I read on one of the papers that the Nigerian Police Force have activated the school protection unit. Now, if you go to our schools are not fenced, especially public schools. And if you see the security man in that particular school, is one man that has retired probably 50 years ago. This man cannot even walk, talk more of running. Some of them cannot even see. And maybe the man is just left with bow and arrow, and maybe with his catapult.
While those terrorists come, the AK-47 is in their numbers.
In their numbers. So now, why do we know? Why is it that our political office holders don't give priority to our schools and also other public places that's supposed to be given that priority? Schools are not fenced. So if these people come, they can come from any angle they want to come from. There's no surveillance cameras in our schools. I'm telling you, there's no surveillance camera. Let's say, for instance, assuming there's surveillance cameras in these schools, by now we should be thinking of how do we track these people. You have the footages. You begin to do forensic investigations and analysis to get who are these people. We've seen these same people coming out on social media doing videos threatening everybody, but nothing is done. So the issue of trust between the citizens and the government is not there.
Some time ago, the government of United Arab Emirates, sent a list of financiers of terrorism in Nigeria. in their own capacity, they've already dealt with their own issues, using the period of change where they were able to track,
all these
But Nigeria is yet to publish the names of those who are responsible, to financing terrorists, that have claimed lives of a lot of innocent Nigerians. And if you try to juxtapose what former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan said, that there are terrorists even in his government, or terrorists in the government.
Yes.
And up till now, Nigeria is yet to see the names of these persons published, publicly, and shaming them to deter others who might have this kind of mindset.
You see, the truth be told, I just read this afternoon that the National Assembly is trying to come up with stiffer penalties for those that are engaged in either kidnapping, banditry, and other things. And it's because our laws are weak. The laws are weak.
Or individuals have made themselves stronger than institutions.
So, and some people have made themselves stronger than the institutions. So, for them not to publish the names of those that are financing the terrorists, I think something is wrong somewhere. That is to tell you that even those in government are involved. Some of them are involved.
Allegedly.
Yes. It was alleged. We've seen people coming with so many stories. But these names are not published till this moment.
Alright, let me allow you to catch up breath. And when we return from this short time out, we'll see the implications of not publishing names of those perhaps who have been allegedly fall in the list submitted by United Arab Emirates some times ago, that these persons are actually behind the sponsor of terrorism in Nigeria. Alright, you're watching Political Affairs on Kama TV. We'll take a short break. We'll be back in just a moment. Join us again. Well, glad to know you're there. If you just join us, you're watching Political Affairs on Kama TV, and I've been discussing with Titus Innocent Isinga. He's a public affairs commentator, and we have been looking at the state of the nation, and of course, matters arising. Now, before the break, I ask you these very critical questions, because the reason for these questions, I've realized or come to a certain conclusion that there are individuals in the country that have assumed a positional status that is bigger than our institutions, whether it is the institution of law, institution of whatever face of institution in the country. There are individuals that seem to be bigger than this institution, and you cannot completely divorce the fact that some of these names that have been given to the federal government by the United Arab Emirates government, pointing out certain individuals who are financiers of terrorism in Nigeria, and it seems as if these names and the issues are being swept under the carpet.
Yeah, just like you made mention of that, that's a plain fact. There are people there are individuals that feel they are bigger than the institutions. And what I want the government to know today is they know that it's not that I want them, but I still want to remind them that by the time you continue like that, it will reach a time that you cannot control these people. They become those that they will tell you that they are the ones in power, they are the ones that control states and other institutions of government. So the best thing is, let us come up with strong laws. That for any reason, if you're found one, there are countries that if you are found wanting, in corrupt practices, the penalty
A capital punishment.
capital punishment. You may end up spending the rest of your life in prison. If care is not taken in some countries, you may be sentenced death by hanging. But then, in this our country where people are allegedly say that, oh, this person is alleged that is among those that are sponsoring terrorism, banditry, are involved in one thing or the other, they still go scot-free. So, if action is not taken, I'm telling you, we are not going to progress as a nation. Because no country, no individual will invest in a country that there's no security stability.
Absolutely.
So our economy will continue to go down. So you cannot come and invest in a country that every morning you wake up is the issue of banditry. We have expatriates working in this country.
Yeah.
We have those that work for, they have their own industries here. So how do you guarantee their safety? Where there's banditry, there's kidnapping and so on and so forth. So nobody will want to invest in a place that he knows very well that the place is not safe.
But talk to me. Our leaders in recent times, if you listen to the conversation in the political space and arena, it sounds as if in Nigeria's calendar, we don't have 2026, because almost everybody talks about 2027. How has politics been able to, shift the attention of our leaders from the current reality on ground, to trying to project themselves securing 2027? Because that's what we see. That's a conversation. That's a narrative.
Yeah, of course, Chris, to be honest with you, just like you made mention, everybody in Nigeria presently, most especially those that are the political gladiators, those that are seeking for political office, they don't even talk about 2026. Everybody is talking about 2027, which is the year of election. But what they fail to understand is, if you don't make the environment secure, if you don't make the environment friendly, if you don't make the environment a level playing ground, even the 2027 election, God forbid, may not be good. Because if there's insecurity, who would think of going out to vote? Nobody would think of going out to vote. Do you think today, if there's bandit terrorizing a particular community, do you think that community will go out and vote? They can't go out to vote. They won't. So we should start thinking of the safety of people, the safety of our country, the security of people, the security of our country, before we start thinking of 2027 election. Because if the place is not friendly, I'm telling you, even the political activities that will start next year will not be friendly.
Now, talk to me. Recently, there has been what seemed to be a landmark judgment over the case of Nnamdi Kanu, and that has again generated, a lot of concerns over the fragility, of the peaceful coexistence of Nigerians, particularly those in the southeastern part of the country. And a lot of experts also, in terms of judicial jurisprudence, just opposing the judgment of Nnamdi Kanu and that of Kabiru Sokoto and other masterminders of Boko Haram attacks on innocent Nigerians, where some backed 20 years imprisonment, which invariably they were going to be spending 10 years because they say the count shall start from the day they were arrested.
Yes.
While others, but Nnamdi Kanu was sentenced to life imprisonment. And some say the magnitude of the offense of Nnamdi Kanu was just verbal, that he didn't partake in physical assault or killings of innocent Nigerians, compared to what other so-called Boko Haram, repented Boko Haram have, taken.
Yeah.
So what do you make of this, kind of judgment? Do you think it should have been given in such a way that undermines or reduces the tension that has already overwhelmed, the southeastern part of Nigeria and Nigeria as a whole.
Yes, basically, you see the issue of now we want to do a little comparative analysis between that of Nnamdi Kanu and Kabiru Sokoto and other members or other bandits that have been sentenced. So actually, to me, they would have given him giving me a particular years to spend in prisons, and since I'm not a legal practitioner, I may not know the reason behind that judgment.
Yeah, but in terms of the
general conversation, I think they should have given him some years to spend in prison.
So some persons are saying that the government did not really obey the court rulings, even during the late or former regime of late President Buhari. The court has granted him bail, but there was no.
You see, in this country where we live, I've not seen, or maybe it's an oversight where court orders are being obeyed in total. In this country, because there are so many, when you begin to talk about court orders, there are so many court orders in this country that have been disobeyed. So many, countless court orders that have been disobeyed. So there's nothing, to me, I think at that particular time it was the issue of concern that if he's allowed to go on bail, he may stir more supporters and other people will go and strategize and so many things. So,
well, it's quite unfortunate that we see Nigeria towing this path where all the region, the 6 geopolitical zones, have not been at relatively at rest, because there's been this incursion in one part of the country and another insurrection, other parts of the country, and it's quite unfortunate that we see this happen in recent times. Anyway, Titus Innocent Isinga, public affairs commentator, thank you so very much for finding time to come on the show.
Thank you very much for
it's been very analytical talking with you. I'm looking forward again to see more of you, as we delve into other developing issues in Nigeria. Thank you very much. Alright, viewers, this is where we drop the anchor on the show today. Thank you so very much for being with us from start to finish. Join us again next time as we come with a fresh edition of the program. Until then, stay safe. My name is Chris Jacobs. God bless Nigeria. And follow us, who follow the conversation on our Facebook page. Thank you so very much for your patience, and thank you for being part of the show. See you next time.